Of course, first term, leadership. It is the ability to influence, direct, and motivate others towards achieving shared goals. It is a human factor that unites people and drives them to perform effectively. Kaya nga sabi ni Kate Davis, excuse me, leadership involves persuading others. Ibig sabihin pa lang, leadership is enthusiastically na kung saan ikaw ay kaya mong mag-influence ng other individual. Diba? Hindi basta authority pinapakita mo. You are able, okay, na mapasunod yung individual because of your character, because of your competence, or kundi man because they trust you. Kasi nga, a true leader, hindi niya tinatreaten yung subordinates niya para lang sumunod. Diba? You are an effective leader kung sumusunod yan out of respect and trust sa'yo. So that is leadership. Ngayon, ano ba ang core elements ng leadership? Of course, we have the first one, the leader. Ang leader, siya po yung initiator. Ang leader, hindi po yan always tao, ba? I mean, hindi siya yung always the person with the highest rank o yung laging may mataas na rank. So, depende po yan kung kanino ka subordinate at kanino ka under. So, leader mo, of course, kung sino yung nangunguna sa'yo. Follower, sila po yung tawag dito, nag-workout. Yun po yung followers natin. Kung saan, kailangan si followers, they are active participants, so they are providing feedback and support doon sa leader o sa vision ng leader. Next, influence, of course, the process to use a fact and the behavior and the actions of the member. Sinabi natin influence, again, that is the actual mechanism, that is the strategy, that is the behavior of the leader, may pinapakita, or it is simply asking, how is your leadership? So, yun po yun. Kasi makikita natin, kung napapasunod mo yan, so you have an influence out of trust, or out of your competence, or out of your confidence. So, that is an influence. And goals naman, that is your destination. Ikaw ay leader, meron kang nililid, mahirap naman, wala kayong patutunguhan pare-pareho. So, meron kayong objectives kung bakit mo sila nililid, toward the shared objectives or targets ng entire group ninyo, and kung bakit ba yung group ninyo ay nag-e-exist. So, that is the goal. For example, sabi ng GPNP, kailangan mabawasan tayo ng crime rate 15% for the next quarter. Kung sabi, January ngayon, kailangan March makitaan natin ng 15% reduction sa crime rate. Kung as a leader, babato ko yun sa member ko, so kailangan gano'n, meron tayong goal at alam nila kung ano yung direction. Ano ba yung roles ng isang leader? Formulation and execution ng policy, that is very important. Ang leader, hindi lang siya basta sumusunod sa standard operating procedure. Mag-create sila ng strategies to guide yung personnel nila. Pangalawa, coordination and cooperation. Of course, sa crime prevention, sa setting ng law enforcement, sa crime prevention, hindi po yung masisolve ng isang law enforcement lang. Ikaw as a leader, you need to act as the vital bridge. Diba? Para mapag-unite mo, hindi sa para makatulong for crime prevention. Diba? Kaya nga sabi dyan, internal coordination, or it can be external cooperation. Pag internal coordination, makipag-coordinate ka with other law enforcement agency, and pag external cooperation with the local government units. Representation and communication, of course, as a leader, you act as the official face and voice of the bureau. Like for example, ba merong crisis, merong high-profile crime na nangyari, no, merong mga initiatives. Ikaw as a leader, you need to step into the public spotlight. Press conference, community assemblies, local government. Ikaw yun. Di ba? And integration of goals, of course, once again, that is very important. Kailangan ikaw as a leader, you align your individual employee kung ano yung pangangailangan nila sa organizational motion. Mahirap magkaroon ng conflict. Kapag yung subordinates mo ay meron silang mga personal goals, tama ba? Promotion, financial stability, safe working hours, maayos na work environment. Ang bureau or an organization, meron din namang institutional goals, reducing crime. For example, sa PNP, enforcing ng border control, maintenance ng 24/7 readiness in response. So, kailangan ikaw as a true leader, kaya mong mag-bridge ng gap. O, ito yung personal goal nila. Diba? Ito yung institutional goal. So, kailangan, yung members mo, they will naturally fulfill yung personal career goals nila. And, masaya sila sa trabaho nila and meron silang sense ng professionalism, fulfillment, and of course, yun lang, sense, pagiging pride na tinatrabaho nila yon while achieving also their personal goals. Number 5, decision making and problem solving. Of course, ikaw as a leader, you are, but sometimes, merong mga tough calls talaga. Hindi makayang maresolba nung iba at ikaw lang yun. As a leader, you can or you must work under pressure. Kaya mong mag-analyze ng situation very quick and makapaghanap ka agad ng mga alternatives and makapag-execute ka sa choice mo and makita mo na tama yun. So that is a leader. Ngayon punta tayo sa types of leadership power. So we have the reward power dito. Yung leadership natin dito, kaya siya naging leader kasi meron siyang ability to offer rewards. Kaya siya sinusunod kasi pwede siya mag-offer ng promotion, ng recognition, or ng incentives. Kaya dito, yung members ng grupo, they are having or encourage with a positive behavior. Next, coercive. From the word coercive, ito, disciplinary. So ay flip side, other side of the coin ng reward power. Kasi ito ay rooted on the fear or in the fear and relies solely on the authority ng leader. At kapag hindi ka nakapag-comply, meron kang consequences, meron kang sanctions, meron kang penalty, meron kang punishment. So yun po ang coercive power. Legitimate power naman, ito ay base sa, sabi nga dyan, formal position or rank. So you have the authority that is anchored, for example, sa rango mo, sa title mo, sa position mo. Hindi po siya depende sa personal charisma or meron ka mga special skill. Tinalaga ka doon, o ikaw yun. Diba? So that is legitimate power. So ay very common sa mga law enforcement agency, sa PNP na nga lang, kapag ikaw ay naitalaga as the chief of police, so ikaw ang leader doon sa specific police station na yun. At yung mga patrolman, corporal, police corporal, police sergeant, so yun mo yung mga followers mo. And referent power, ito naman, as to respect and admiration. Usually, ito ay interpersonal. Hindi siya katulad ng legitimate, reward, or coercive. Ito ay depende saan? Earned personal character, earned personal charisma, earned personal integrity. Diba? Yung subordinates mo nagko-comply, dahil they have to. Nagko-comply sila. Bakit? Out of deep respect. Ina-admire ka nila. And they are deciding to emulate or gayahin ka bilang leader someday. So, ang tawag po doon ay referent power. Next, expert power. Ito naman by competence. You have a lot of skills. You have a lot of knowledge. Diba? You have a lot of expertise na wala yung iba yung sa organization. Kumbaga, you have a proven competence. Sabi nga dyan. At kapag trinak down yung records mo, talagang perfect. So that is expert power. Information power naman, so ito naman ay a form of power that comes from, sabi niya, controlling or accessing critical information. So, paano ito? Alam niyo naman, information, yun ay knowing about something. Meron kang intel, meron kang data, meron kang insider, meron kang secrets, or any access. And kung ikaw ay meron kang information na hindi nalalaman ng iba, di ba? Kumbaga, you are thinking na parang ahead ka sa other person. So, yun lang po yung sinasabi dito. Kaya sabi dito, who manage communication and information flow effectively can influence decision and outcomes. Once again, ang information, so ito po ay kaiba sa expert kasi ang expert about how to do something, you have the skills, you have the knowledge, you have a competence. Pero ang information, you are possessing or controlling access that others need. Kailangan kasi nila yung information na yun, susundin ka talaga nila. So, ganun po yun sa information power. And we have 4 leadership styles, the autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire, and the bureaucratic. Punta natin sa autocratic. Ito alam niyo na, authoritarian. Pag sinabing authoritarian, directive po yan. Siya yung may control, siya yung may command, siya po ang nagde-decide entirely. Single leader, siya ang bahala. Siya nagdidikta ng policy. Siya nagdidikta ng procedure. Siya ang nagdidikta ng objective. Ang tawag po doon, autocratic. Democratic naman, sabi nga dyan, participative. Para pag sinabing participative, so ini-ensure o ini-invite nila yung team members, ini-invite nila yung part ng kanilang organization o yung members ng organization to contribute doon sa decision making. So, paano po yun? So, nagkakadak ng discussion, merong feedback, merong collaboration, at yung final authority, si leader pa rin, pero at least nakuha niya yung side ng kanyang members. Sa laissez-faire, ito, hands-off approach. Paano sinabing hands-off? Yung laissez-faire po kasi, yan po yung French term. Ibig sabihin, let it be, or allow to do. Sabihin, ikaw as a leader, meron kang minimal interference. Diba si leader, nag-provide ng necessary tools, merong resources, merong dinelegate yung task, ito yung gagawin nyo. Bahala na kayo dyan. Pero yung pagsabing bahala, yun ay positive way. Kasi I think, naniniwala yung leader na yung members na can work efficiently and effectively. Usually, ang ginagawa lang ng leader dito, hindi na hands-on. Actually, oversee. Okay? Or minomonitor kung ano na yung natatapos nung araw na yun. And bureaucratic, ito po, with adherence to the rules or command. Usually, ito po ay talagang may sinusunod na SOPs. Si leader nag-act, ano yan, inspirational figure. Diba? Everything must be done by number. Everything must be done black and white. And kailangan ikaw as a personnel, kailangan ka makapag-comply strictly doon sa sinasabi ni leader. Pero hindi po siya nasa kanya lahat ng desisyon ha. Ang ginagawa niya, ito yung kailangan nating sundin. So, sumunod tayo dito, huwag kayong gumawa ng kung ano-anong gusto ninyo. So, yun po ay bureaucratic kasi meron po siyang strict adherence to follow the procedure. And kung ano man yung sinabi niya, that is based on the SOPs, kailangan makapag-comply si personnel. Ngayon, punta tayo sa classical theories of leadership. So, meron tayong house path, goal, and meron tayong tingnan natin mamaya, the innate nature or you're born to be a leader. Sa house path, sabi dito, meron daw directly nakaka-apekto the motivation, satisfaction, performance of subordinates. Okay? Tingnan natin. Sabi ni Robert House, meron siyang 4 leadership style. Directive daw muna. Sa directive leadership, naman din kanina sa autocratic, pero giving direction yon si leader lang. Pero sa directive kasi, nagbibigay ng clear instruction, sets performance standards, and monitor compliance. So, ibig sabihin niya, ang directive is a task-oriented. Ikaw as a leader, nagpo-provide ka ng outlines precisely. Kaya nga sinabing task-oriented, walang room for any ambiguity. Diba? What needs to be done must be done. How should it be done? Or when it must be accomplished or completed. So, ganun po ang directive leadership. Sa supportive naman, nagpapakita ng concern. Si leader, approachable. Si leader, friendly. Si leader, actively creates a pleasant, stress-free work environment. Supportive po yun. People-oriented naman. Participative. From the word participative, ito, with collaborative behavior or collective effort. Lalong-lalo na sa decision-making process. Si leader, kinukonsult yung team member, nag-aas ng opinion, nakikinig sa suggestion. That is participating. Achievement-oriented, ito naman, so merong high challenging goals. Nagdedemand ng high performance. And expect na yung subordinates ay mag-perform in the absolute highest level. Kung si directive, ito yung objective natin, ito yung kailangan natin i-perform, pero ang kaibahan niya sa achievement-oriented, ito with the highest level of performance. Okay? Si leader, pinupush yung kanyang member to continuously improve and excel no matter what. Pwede yung ginawa mo nung nakaraan o mas mag-excel ka pa dyan. That is achievement-oriented. Next, the great man theory, the innate, the born to be a leader. So meron daw itong mga innate traits and qualities. So, kung saan noong 19th century, according kay Thomas Carlyle, so leaders are born, not made, according sa kanila. And it is a classical view. Sinasabi that leadership daw ay hindi daw yan skill that you can study, that you can practice, or that you can acquire. And it is shaped daw by the extraordinary individuals that is destined. So they are birth to lead. Meron silang possession ng immense power. So yun po ang sinasabi nito. And sa trait theory, ito naman profile ng leader. Meron silang interest, meron silang abilities, or they have the personal traits. Diba? Instead na i-assume mo na ikaw ay meron kang leadership as a divine gift, sa trait theory ito, meron kang parang proof, meron kang evidence na you can be a leader by your personal characteristic, personal traits, personal abilities na wala dun sa ibang tao. Okay? Again, yun po ay trait according to your specific personal traits na wala sa ibang individual. Ngayon po tayo influence and relationship leadership theories. So sa leadership member exchange theory, dito po ang theory natin dito, tinatawag ang leadership as relational. Okay, or with relationship. Nire-reject po nito yung idea na ang leader ay titreat mo yung subordinates mo pare-parehas. Instead, magkakaiba. Okay, depende yon yung magiging relationship mo with the other members of the team. So over time, iba-iba yung interaction mo naturally. So meron kang na-separate. Una, yung in-group. Pag sinabing in-group, yan yung mga subordinates mo na talagang highly competent, trustworthy, dependable, willing to take any extra responsibilities. Ikaw, of course, as a leader, iba yung pakikitungo mo dun sa in-group mo or the inner circle. Bakit? Kasi they are the one who is competent. Diba? Nandun yung buo mong pagtitiwala. Tawag doon in-group. And then meron naman out-group doon sa leadership member exchange theory. So sila naman yung mga less trusted. Sa out-group naman, kung sila ay less trusted, they are unmotivated, so they are average performer. Diba? Usually, yan yung mga nagtatrabaho base lang sa sahod o sa sweldo. Usually, ikaw as a leader, ganun din naman, iba yung pakikitungo mo, once again, doon sa less trusted members mo. Okay? Kumpara doon sa trusted members mo or the in groups. Next, servant leadership theory. Of course, from the word servant leadership, you are prioritizing serving your followers. Diba? Completely outside down ito. Bakit? Kasi sa authoritarian, ikaw ang ikaw ang bida diyan. Pero sa servant, ang bida dito ay yung team mo. Ikaw as a leader, you work to serve your team. Diba? At ang primary responsibility mo is to identify ano ba yung kailangan ng followers ko. Diba? Ano ba yung kanilang professional growth? Ano ba yung mga personal growth nila? And ano ba yung kailangan ko in order to empower them to succeed? That is servant leadership. Next, social structure theory. From the word social structure, ito po may kinalaman sa socio-economic environment. Yung binabanggit dito ay as the theories on community policing, kung saan that the crime is not a product of personal choice or genetic. Rather, ito daw po yung reaction dahil doon sa systemic, socio-economic na kinakaharap ng isang community. Like for example, poverty, high unemployment, mayroong mga criminal values, failing educational system. Diba? Without stable institution, ganun po talaga ang mangyayari. Tataas at tataas ang high crime rates. Kung mapansin natin, mataas talaga yung crime rates sa gawe doon sa mga disorganized community o society, lalo na sa mga urban areas or highly urban areas. Broken windows theory as one of the theories of community policing. Alam niyo naman ito. Ang metaphor dyan, very simple. Kung ang bintana doon sa building ay basag, iniwanan na hindi kinukumpune, at yung mga tao na lumalakad doon, ano ang magiging conclusion? wala man lang sigurong nakakapansin nung, wala man lang siguro nag-aalaga or wala man lang in charge na ayusin yung bintana na yun. Soon, more windows will be broken. Ngayon, ano ang magiging sense nun sa anarchy natin? Mag-expand yun from building to the entire street, inviting serious crime. Ano yun? Yung hindi napansin yung petty crimes, maliliit na krimen. Usually, kapag left address yun, usually mag-invite yun ng more serious crime. Next, zero tolerance theory as one also of the theories of the community policing. Pag sinabi natin zero tolerance, usually ito po ay operational extension ni Broken. Bakit? Wala ka man lang strategy na ginawa, di ba? To address yung mga infraction. Kahit gaano yan kaliit. Diba? Kailangan hindi mo pwedeng i-tolerate yan. Tumatawid sa maling tawiran or kung ano pang ginagawang vandalism. Yun yung mga small. But that doesn't mean hindi na dapat yan tugunan. Yun yung sinasabi sa zero tolerance. Kailangan the law must be strictly enforced, diba? And yung government natin must be in total control kahit na petty infractions lang yan. Okay? Next, public relation theory. Dito naman, of course, mayroong strategic communication. Sabi nga dyan, mutually beneficial relationship, establishing trust, transparency, and positive image. Okay? Ng ano? Ng police department and ng community na sinaserban nila. But rather, sa pag-focus nila ng operation, pag-aaresto, tinitignan nila yan as treating yung public makasuporta or makatulong in the effective policy ng police department. Next, communitarian theory. Of course, dito sa communitarian. So, ang philosophy, yung individuals are not just as isolated citizens. So, they are deeply shaped by the communities kung saan man sila belong to. So, ibig sabihin, ikaw, as a member of the community, you are pushed, di ba, na ikaw as citizens to step up, mag-care for one another, mag-co-produce ka ng public safety. So, yung tawag po dyan ay communitarian theory. So, you are encouraging the members of the community to be one of the producer ng public safety. Next, organizational culture theory. So, pag sinabi natin organization, actually, that is a group of people with shared values, beliefs, attitudes, traditions, and behaviors. Often, dinedescribe yun na kung ano ba yung nangyayari, di ba? Doon sa isang location. So, usually, dito sa theory ng policy na to, kung ano yung, kung ano mang culture ang merong positive, of course, hindi na yun dapat ang tignan natin or pagtuunan natin ng police services. Doon na lang sa merong mga negative culture. Kung saan kapag merong negative culture ang isang community, usually nandun na yung erosion ng public trust, systemic corruption, ba, or pagtaas ng mga rates ng krimen. Next, proceed tayo sa panibagong topic, management. Management, nakita natin yan earlier, process of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling para ma-achieve natin a specific goal efficiently and effectively. Pero niya tayong apat na policy, again, planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Ngayon, punta tayo, ano ba yung roles ng managers? Una, merong interpersonal roles. Sinabing interpersonal roles, yan po ay si manager ay hindi lang siya basta uupo sa kanyang kinaupuan doon sa kanyang office. Ano ang kanyang ginagawa? Yung manager daw ay merong division ng kanilang trabaho. Tingnan natin. Under na interpersonal, merong figurehead. Pag sinabing figurehead, that is the role of the manager. Sabi dito, symbol of authority, performing ceremonial and official duties. Sabihin, you are relying completely doon sa formal or legal status mo. As a figurehead, Tinatrabaho mo yan kasi nga, trabaho mo yan. So that is the figurehead. So you are working as the member of the organization, actually, because of the uh, position that is placed to you by the protocol, by the rank, or by the symbolism. So that is the figurehead. And when we say leader naman, sabi nga dyan, hires, trains, and motivates team. Kapag sinabi nating leader, makikita natin dito, you are inspiring the officers before conducting operations. You are aligning your personal value or their personal values doon ah, sa sa values ng sinet ng organization. And at the same time, as a leader also, sabi nga dyan, you are ensuring na yung subordinates mo are constantly upgrading yung skills nila and they are equipped and trained in conducting a mission or operation. And liaison naman, from the word liaison, so ito ay yung leader, I mean the manager, who are focusing toward the links or yung mga possible external partners ng organization mo. Like for example, sa PNP, so ano ba yan? Pwede kang makipag-coordinate with the other law enforcement agency. Ano pa? Pwede kang makapagbigay ng sharing or ng intelligence from the other law enforcement agency, or you are cultivating relationship with the community. So that is the liaison. Next, informational roles. Dito, the managers are the center of communication. They are handling the information flow within and outside of the organization. Paano to? Of course, they are monitoring. Pag receive nila na collect yung information from different sources to make informed decision. As a manager, they are constantly scanning kung ano ba yung internal and external environment acting as an information radar. O makita nila yon pag nakapag-collecta sila ng data, ng intelligence, para at least maunawaan nila kung ano ba yung nangyari inside and outside of the organization. And doon sila magbabase ng mga proactive intelligence-led policy. Kung saan kasi hindi naman makapag-provide ng strategic decisions ang manager kung walang accurate data. So that's why very important sa internal and external monitoring. Disseminator, from the word disseminator, the disseminator role is entirely about transmitting information internally. Ikaw as a manager, di ba? You are passing down yung mga critical data, the policies, strategic goals, doon sa subordinates mo, or otherwise, walang magkakaroon na access, so hindi nila alam kung ano yung information na binaba mo. Like for example, if there are new policies, or meron kang task or mission or operation na pinapagawa. So that is a disseminator. Then, spokesperson as a manager, of course, bukod sa pagka-transmit mo ng information internal, disseminator, meron naman din pong transmission ng information externally. At ang tawag mo na yun as a role of informational role as a manager, spokesperson ka na. Kung ano man yung nangyayari doon sa loob at kailangan ng kasagutan ng media, ng government official, or ng community stakeholders, ikaw as a manager, babanggitin mo yung information externally, directly outside of your organization. Next, decisional roles. Pag sinabing decisional, ba ikaw as a manager, you are, tawag dito, choosing the best courses of action kung saan, kasi that is, or those can directly impact yung ating organization. Kaya dito, merong entrepreneur na tinatawag. Si entrepreneur, dito, ikaw as a manager, you are acting as agent of change. Hindi po ito tumutukoy sa ano, pag sinabi entrepreneur, hindi lang siya tumutukoy sa commercial businesses. Dito, tinitingnan mo as a manager, tinitingnan mo ano ba yung mga ways on how your organization will improve. Ano ba yung mga modern technologies that could be adapted by the organization para at least yung department natin is maging more efficient and effective. So that is entrepreneur. You are looking for best ways or more ways to help the department or organization. Next, disturbance handler. Of course, dito, From the word itself naman, ikaw ang role mo dito, reactive to crisis management. Ikaw as a manager, you are taking immediate command kung kinakailangan, diba? Kung may sudden emergency, so you are addressing it, okay, with high level of ano yun, experience doon sa my job. Kasi alam ng manager na crisis, those are inevitable part of the job. Pag sinabi inevitable, hindi mo may iwasan yan. Ang crisis ay part na ng pag-work ng isang organization. Ikaw as a manager, kailangan mo lang siya may handle effectively. And resource allocator, of course, ikaw as a manager, kailangan mo mag-decide exactly who gets what, kailan nila makukuha, o magkano yung makukuha nila. So that is as simple as that. Ibig sabihin, ng manager, ikaw, nag-approve ka ng project, nag-approve ka ng budget, diba? Nag-approve ka ng mga personnel o individual kung sino man yung kinakailangan na manpower doon. So that is the resource allocator. And lastly, negotiator, engage with external parties, sa suppliers, employees, and government agencies. So paano dito? So ikaw as a manager, so kailangan mo of course ng large networks kung saan ka pa pwedeng kumuha ng, for example, in the law enforcement, pwede ka makipag-negotiate sa mga different stakeholders natin. The LGUs, hindi naman pwede na ikaw as police, inupo ka lang, so para makakuha ka ng information. So hindi, you can ask from the external parties to help you. And now, what is problem solving ngayon? Ang problem solving, systematic process of identifying, analyzing, and resolving a problem or difficulty to achieve a desired outcome. So, paano ito? So, you need to identify muna ano ba yung problema. Pangalawa, you need to analyze ano kaya yung nag-uugat doon sa problema. At pangatlo, paano mo ngayon mariresolba yung ugat ng problema. So, that is problem solving. You are listing courses of action, alternative, what are those strategy na kinakailangan in order to solve the problem. And the ultimate law enforcement application po niya is the SARA model. Okay? Kung saan ito po ginagamit for the community-oriented policing and problem-oriented policing, lalo na sa problem solving. And tignan natin, scanning. Ano kailangan mong i-scan? Sabi diyan, you are merely stop being reactive. Merong krimen, mag-react ka, hindi. You need to be proactive, sabi sa scanning. You need to identify recurring problems in the community. But you need to look for the bigger picture. You need to look for the patterns. You need to look for the trends, including yung mga incidents that could affect or that affecting the public safety. So that is the scanning. Tinitingnan mo lahat ng angulo. Hindi ka lang tumitingin sa isang krimen, kundi lahat ng krimen. Next, analysis. Nag-scan ka na, nakita mo. Next is analysis. So dito, ina-analyze mo ngayon kung saan ba possible, okay, o ano ba yung so that is an analysis. Kaya sabi dito, you are gathering data, interviewing victims, and identifying why it is happening. Next, response, of course. Nag-scan ka, na-analyze mo, then undercover mo na yung root cause. Ikaw ngayon, or ngayon ang department, papasok na sa response phase. So, yung root cause, hindi naman pwede natapalan mo lang ng band-aid kasi yung band-aid, yun ay pang-temporary lang. Sa response, kailangan mo mag-tailor ng mga solution that could be applied long-term. Okay? So, yun po yung sinasabi sa response. Nasabi doon, developing and implementing tailor-made solutions. Pwede kang magbasa ng ordinance or pwede kang magkaroon ng moving camera positions. So, pwede yun. Diba? Kasi para ma-monitor mo usually or makapag-respond ka, hindi siya band-aid lang. Naglalagay ka ng tao doon and then pinabukasan, wala naman tao. Sa susunod na may tao ulit. So, hindi siya effective at hindi siya permanent or long-term. And assessment, of course, from the word. Kaya na just implement the plan. Titignan mo kung yun ba yung nag-work out ng maayos. That is assessment. And titingnan mo din dito, the accountability. Usually, titingnan mo kung response ba actually eliminated, reduced, or displaced yung problem. So kung hindi, kailangan mong mag-look from the other side nung ginawa mong response. And what is decision making? Tandaan natin, in the final sentence, decision making it is a part of problem solving. Diba? Minsan kasi nagkaroon ng confusion. Problem solving daw, yun yung pinaka-entire journey. Pero decision making, yun yung pinaka-specific na kailangan mong gawin in critical moment. That is decision making. So ngayon, ano ba yung mga key characteristic ng decision making? Pwede siyang base sa intuition. Ano pag sinabing intuition? Gut feelings, personal instinct. Bakit siya ginagamit? Usually, sa mga high-stress situations or kapag wala ka ng time, nabasahin pa yung report o mag-analyze pa ng statistics. Ano ang risk? Usually, personal bias, emotional intelligence, or pwede kang magkamali. Facts naman. Sa facts, ito naman evidence-based ang approach natin dito. At ito po ang pinaka-best basis natin for decision making. Bakit? Meron kang data, you have a concrete evidence, di ba? And meron kang mga intelligence that could guide your choices. Saan siya ginagamit? Usually kapag may strategic planning, administrative operation, or nagkakandak ka or nag-create ka ng mga policy. At ano ang benefit dito? Wala kang magiging personal bias. Lahat ng magiging decision mo are based on justification or factual evidence. Experience. So usually, madalas na gagamit talaga to in decision making. Meron ka ng mga past successes, past failures, past operational outcomes. Ngayon, kapag dumating yung new crisis, pwede mong ma-match yung pattern na yan. Oh, parang ganito din nangyari before. So, nag-success naman or okay naman yung outcome nung in-apply ko na decision or courses of action dito. So, maybe, pwede kong pitikin ng konti tsaka ako i-apply ngayon. So, that is experiences. Next, key characteristic of decision making. Meron tayong considered and operations. Pag sinabi natin considered, simple as that. You are consulting others. Diba? Simple as that. Tinitignan mo yung perspective ng others who are consulting them. That is the considered opinions. And when we say operation research, so from the word research, ito na ay through the use of complex, meron ka ng analysis, simulations, or any methods to evaluate yung options is scientifically. Tinitignan mo doon kung alin ba talaga yung mag-work out all throughout kapag ka in-implement mo siya. So hindi ka basta nag-guess lang. So what might happen, ba you are using or you are analyzing based on the research kung ano talaga yung effective talagang kagamit-gamit 100% that could address yung isang issue. Now we have types of decision, organizational and personal, policy and operative decisions, individual and group, tactical and strategic, program and non-program. Isa-isay natin. Pag sinabing organizational and personal decisions, of course, natin sa dalawa. Pag sinabing organizational, it is made explicitly to advance yung goal ng isang organization. Pero pagka personal, yun ay ginagawa mo made by as an individual. Mag-reflect dyan yung personal life, hobbies, or private matters. Including yung organization. Next, pag sinabing policy and operative, pag sinabi natin policy, usually that is the strategy. Pero pag sinabi natin operative, yun yung execution. Sa policy, you are deciding, usually ang nag-decide dito is the top level of the management, chief of police, chief of the PNP, mga director, commissioners. Ano ang sakop? The entire direction, values, and rules ng organization. Pero sa operatives, usually ang gagawa dito, yung mga nasa lower level na. Ba yung pinaka-scope nito from the bigger picture na isinet ng higher level of the management. Titignan mo na siya on the daily operation. Paano mo ma-execute yung isinet doon sa taas effectively and efficiently. Next, individual and group decision. Pag sinabing individual, single person, acting alone. And pagka group, of course, collective decisions yan. Puntahan natin muna, individual decision making. So dito, so ang pinakatatandaan, once again, lahat ng decision, evaluation, information processing, and the responsibility is on a single person. Kaya yung personal judgment, nasa kanya lang. Ngayon, kailan ba siya ginagamit? Emergency or life-threatening situation. Reality tayo. Di ba? May nangyaring emergency. Gatawag ka ba ba ng ganito? Na kung saan ay tagal pang pag-uusapan, pwede magkaroon ng conflict, actually dun siya nagagamit. Ano pa? When immediate action is required. Diba? Usually, kapag ka, like for example, merong yung patrol officer nakakita ng suspect vehicle matching doon sa kidnapping description, ano ang kailangan mong gawin? Hingi ka ba ba ng kung ano pa mang ah, mga advice coming from your superior or from the other, or pwede ka na mag-decide on your own. Bakit? Immediate action ang kailangan eh. Or when communication with other is not possible. Sakali man nasa hostile environment ka, wala talagang communication, ikaw na po ang bahala doon. Diba? Wala kang radyo, walang satellite signals, so nasa sayo na po yun kung na mag-decision. Pero pag group decision, again, ito po ay group, sabihin with the collaboration, combined perspectives, combined expertise, analytical skills from the other. So, kailan siya pwede gamitin? Of course, designing operation. Very important yun. Kasi minsan ikaw as a person, nakakaligtaan mo yung other angle or ibang side ng operation. So, kung merong iba, so pwede mong ma-realize na tama yung sinabi niya. Ano ba? Planning operations. Like race hostages, hostage rescue, large-scale law enforcement action. So, tama din yun. Kasi nga, kung mag-execute ka ng mga ganyan na high-risk operation, so usually, kailangan mo ng uh, advices or experiences coming from the other. Diba? Kasi mga mamaya, meron dyan na nakapag-experience na or merong may mga high-level knowledge or na pag-aralan talaga nila yung ganong uri ng operation. And next, tactical and strategic. Pag sinabi natin tactical, routine. Yan po short-term, daily, and mga immediate operational adjustment. Pag sinabi naman natin strategic, yan po yung mga basics. Usually, yan po yung mga long-term, and usually the overall organization's future uh, ang tinitignan po dito sa strategic. And next, program and non-program. Sinabi natin program, decisions, usually yan po yung mga repetitive and mga structured na choices. Bago pa mangyari yung since na nangyayari yung situation frequently, so nag-create na ng mga SOPs. Like for example, sa arrest search, meron na tayong SOPs. Ang tawag din program decisions. Hindi ka na magtatanong, oh, sir, paano po pag ganito nangyari? Sir, paano po ganito? Kasi meron ka ng SOPs. Sa non-program naman na decision, so unique. Depende to sa situation. Usually kasi may mga situation na unprecedented or yung mga unexpected. Na kailangan na dito ng critical thinking, problem-solving skill ni manager. Paano niya isosolve yung nag-arise na problem. Right, and for the last, we have the law enforcement operations and planning with crime mapping. Nandiyan ba kayo guys? Pwede bang paki-thumbs up? Nabawasan tayo ah. Nabawasan tayo ng 12 na viewers. Hinga lang ako guys ng konti ah. 11, start tayo ng law enforcement operation and planning. Alright, so let's continue. Ito na po tayo sa last subject, law enforcement operations and planning with gray mapping. So once again, some of the topics ay medyo magiging mabilis tayo. Kasi napag-usapan na natin sa other side nitong subject and actually mga kaya-kaya nyo na, mga concepts and context. Next, police operation. Pag sinabi nating police operation, once again, yan po ay tungkulin responsibilidad at gawain ng pulis habang sila po ay nasa field. That is police operation. So, hindi po yung tinutukoy na ikaw ay PNP lang. So, hindi. You can be an NBI agent, you can be a PDEA officer, you can be a patrolman. Diba? Reserve ka ng warrant, nagkakaroon ka ng bypass operation, or you are just simply patrolling. So, that is a police operation. So, ito po ay meron tayong 7. So, maging mabilis tayo, public safety. Sa public safety, ito po ay ini-ensure na ligtas ang public. Actually, sabi nga dyan, promote public safety. Actually, nagkakatak ng search, rescue, operation, fire drill, and earthquake drills. So, law enforcement operation. So, mag-i-issue ka ng, mag-serve ka ng warrant of arrest or any loss related as long as kailangan mo siyang i-execute. That is law enforcement operation. Next, internal security operation. So ito po kasi kapag at stake yung ang internal security ng bansa para maprotektahan ang banta sa seguridad, counterinsurgency, laban sa mga rebelde, counter-terrorism operations. So yun po ay internal security operation. Number 4 is special police operation. Kapag kailangan ng mga specialized training, huwag niyo kakalimutan specialized training. Usually, bakit? Ito po yung mga peculiarity or mga high-risk operation that cannot be handled by a regular officer or law enforcement officer alone. Kaya nga papasok dyan yung hostage taking, roadblock operation, crowd control, sa rally, di ba? So, yun po ay special police operation. Next, intelligence operation. Usually, ang intelligence operation, yan po ay invisible work. Bakit? Patago po yan. Clandestine. Surveillance operation, counterintelligence, intelligence. Yan po yung mga pagkuha ng mga raw data. And pinaprocess po yan para maging intelligence. Malaman mo kung saan yung naglalagay yung mga sindikato, saan mga nakalagay yung mga illegal na tawag dito, contrabands. Next, investigation operation. So from the word investigation, you are gathering pieces of evidence. May nangyaring krimen, pumunta ka sa krimen, nag-gather ka ng pieces of evidence, maintain mo ang chain of custody, present po yun sa prosecutor, that is investigation operation. You need to determine the facts. Ano yung facts? The crime has been committed, at sino yung suspect, sino yung mga biktima. Number 7, scene of the crime operation, SOCO. Ito na, meron na itong kinalaman sa scientific operations, usually mga forensic operations. That is complex na at kinakailangan na ng SOCO for the scene of the crime operation team. Okay. Next, what is RA 7438? Maging mabilis lang din tayo dito. It is the act defining certain rights of the person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation. At yung duties and responsibility ng arresting officer. Siyempre, kapag in-arresto mo, kinulong mo, iniimbestigahan mo, tungkulin mo ng pulis na mahawak sa kanya na protektahan mo yung kanyang karapatan. Hindi siya pwede masubject for any kind of abuse that is against under this law. Ano ba yun? Kailangan ma-informan siya ng kanyang karapatan. Kung siya ay Tagalog at nakakaintindi ng Tagalog, Tagalogin mo. Kung siya ay English at nakakaintindi lang ng English, Englishin mo. Ilocano, Ilocano, Bisaya. As long as ma-informahan niya in the language known to and understood by him. Na ano, kailangan niyang manahimik. Diba? Or meron siyang karapatang manahimik. Meron siyang karapatan as a competent and independent counsel. Diba? So that is the second. So, assisted by the counsel at all times. Obligado po yan. Bakit siya kailangan assisted? Kasi po, during ng social investigation, but if they want their own lawyer, kailangan i-facilitate mo yun. If they can't afford one, sabi nga doon, one must be provided sa kanya. And preferably by his or her own choice. Duties of public officer, a person arrested, detained, or under custodial, investigation cannot afford, ito na binamagit natin kanina, bigyan mo po siya. Saan na nakukuha? Usually, you need to contact the public attorney's office. Next. And regarding naman sa privilege communication, ang counsel natin is allowed to confer privately. Ba, hindi ba pwedeng i-record yung conversation nila? You cannot stand in the room as a police officer habang nag-uusap sila o mag-eavesdrop ka doon. Bakit? The privacy po ng counsel is violated. Wala na. Yung intercustodial process natin is tainted. So, ayun po ay kaya napakahalaga na that the accused natin must be assisted by the counsel at all times. And next, be visited by or have conference with. So, pwede po siyang bisitahin ng kanyang asawa, ng kanyang fiancé, ng kanyang anak, ng kanyang magulang, ng kanyang kapatid na lalaki, kanyang kapatid na babae, kanyang grandparent, ng kanyang grandchild, ng kanyang uncle or aunt, nephew or niece, and guardian or ward kung ilaalagaan po siya ng ano pa, ng doktor, ng pari, ng ministro, o maaari po nilang piliin yan. Diba? Or may iniinda ka bang sakit, o pwede kang magpa-check up. Ng mga non-government offices, basta accredited by the Commission on Human Rights or ng Office of the President, pwede ka pong bisitahin nila. Next, arrest. Sa arrest natin, sabi ito, pwede siya made only on the basis of the valid warrant of arrest. That is the general rule. Bago ka mag-arrest, kailangan meron kang warrant of arrest. Pero there are exception, alam natin yan. Next, no violence or unnecessary force shall be used in making arrest. So, pwede lang po natin gamitin is, of course, necessary force. O, hindi ka pa pwede magkandang ng violence, suntukin mo, i-headlock mo, hindi po pwede yun. So, you must use only necessary. Ba't ka tumatawa, Rodel? Tama naman yun ha, meron kasing police officer na headlock kasi ay. So, hindi po pwede yun. Kailangan lang necessary force. Again, you are only allowed to use the level of restraint necessary under circumstances. Ngayon, kung si suspect nakikipag-cooperate naman at binibigay na kami sa'yo, ba't kailangan mo pang boljakin? Bakit mo pa kailangan hampasin ang baton mo? Diba? Ang goal mo is to control and not to injure. Tandaan. Next, general rule natin, any day of the week, pwede po nating mag-aresto and any time of the day or night. Kahit gabi, basta may warrant, pwede kang mang-aresto. Sino daw po ang nag-i-issue? Si judge lang po ang nag-i-issue ng warrant of arrest. Ano pa? No longer needed if the accused is already under detention. Kung nakakulong na akusado, hindi na po kailangan ng warrant. Sa halip, ang ibibigay na po ng judge dyan ay commitment order. Okay? Na kung saan, kailangan na po siyang dalhin doon sa tawag ito sa institution kung saan po siya ilalagay. Next, guidelines in arrest. So sabi dito, meron po tayong mga individual that is immune from arrest. Senator or members of the House of the Representatives. Okay? Kung sino mang senador at kung sino mang ambasador ng iba't ibang diplomatic countries na meron pong relation with the with the Philippines. But please take note mga kapatid. Sabi dito, by not more than 6 years of imprisonment. Ano po yun? Ibig sabihin lang, limited po yan. Kung ang krimen na makukumit ni Senator, ang krimen na makukumit ng one of the member of the House of Representatives, punishable ng 6 years imprisonment. Okay? Or I mean, more than 6 years of imprisonment. Kahit po while in Congress yan, pwede po silang arestuhin. Maliwanag po tayo din kasi malinaw yung while Congress is in session for an offense punishable by not more than. Pero kung yan more than 6 years na, kahit na po yan ay ongoing yung Congress, pwede pong mang-aresto. Maliwanag Pero immune sa diplomatic agents or yung mga ambasador ng ibang bansa. Next. Warrant of arrest, alam na natin to, there's a written authority, yung pinakasulat in writing, pinahihintulutan po ang pulis o pulisya na arestuhin ng isang tao para siya po managot sa ginawa niyang krimen. And eto na, with the validity, 10-day rule lang Kapag ngayon naka-receive kang warrant, you have exactly 10 days to try and implement it. Bakit? Ang pinay-prevent dito, ng warrant, pabayaan mo na lang dyan. At hindi ka mako-compel to serve yung warrant. Kaya meron kang 10 days validity para at least ikaw, compel ka to serve the warrant. Ngayon, kapag kayong 10 araw, lalagpas natin, hindi makuha yung suspect o hindi mahuli suspect. Ano ang kailangan mo? Meron kang another 10 days to submit a written report to the judge. Ano ang kailangan mong gawin? This is called return. If you fail to make the arrest, kailangan mo magkaroon ng justification, pumunta ka sa judge. For example, hindi ko po siya makita kasi bali-balita, lumipad po siya ng ibang province. Ngayon, pag nakita ni judge na okay, justifiable reason, bibigyan kayo ng alias warrant. Or i-declare na itong suspect as fugitive para maalarma na even yung other police stations or other units. So, ganun po ang nangyayari. Next, arrest without a warrant. Sabi dyan, a peace officer or a private person may, without a warrant, arrest a person. Meron tayong 3 circumstances. Paulit-ulit tayo dito. Committed, actually committing, attempting to commit, in flagrante delicto, has just been committed and he has probable cause based on personal knowledge at pursuit. When the person to be arrested is a prisoner who has escaped or escaped while being transferred or from one confinement area to another, yung tawag po doon ay escape prisoner or escape. Or, sabi dyan, bail jumpers or release on bail. Pabiri mo nasa bail ka, bigla kang aalis ng bansa. Wala na pong kailangan warrant of arrest doon. Ikaw ay pwede nang damputin ora mismo doon. Pero, meron pong sinasabi, kung ikaw may nasa bail, pwede ka pong kumuha na tinatawag na travel authority sa korte. Ngayon, kung wala kang travel authority at ikaw nasa bail, hindi ka pa pwedeng umalis ng bansa. Then, violation of conditional pardon, of course, nasa conditional pardon ka. Sabihin, kapag nakakommit ka pa ng another offense, so ibabalik ka. Kapag ganun po ang sistema, hindi ka na po kailangan pa ng warrant of arrest. Ikaw po ay tawag dito. Wait lang guys. Okay, continue. So, hindi na po kailangan pa ng isang police officer kung sino pong law enforcement officer na magkaroon ng warrant of arrest para ikaw ay i-convict. Okay? And arrest following the deportation proceeding by the Immigration Commissioner against illegal and undesirable aliens. Like for example, ikaw foreigner, overstaying ka na or sangkot ka sa illegal na gawain, kapag naglabas na po ng final deportation order ang immigration, so pwede ka na pong arrestuin agad kahit na wala na pong warrant of arrest. Next, punta tayo sa procedures, serving of warrant of arrest course, you need to verify first the validity. So you need daw to request for authenticated copy. Bakit? Para lang makita mo that the warrant na meron ka ay legitimate, of course. And in serving the warrant, the police officer should introduce himself. So malinaw po yan. Pakita mo yung, pakilala mo yung sarili mo, pakita mo yung ID mo, at sabihin mo na ikaw ay police. Sir, pwede po kami pasin na PPT niyo po, sir. So tanong natin sa may hawak po ng Leia area, if po pwede. Kung pa pwede naman, i-share ko na lang sa kanya para siya na lang po mag-share. And then, make manifestation of authority against the person to be arrested. Of course, pakita mo that you have an authority. Sabihin mo sa tao na ulihin mo na ina-arresto mo siya. You are making an arrest. Diba? Meron po siyang violation or meron siyang nalabag na batas kung bakit siya ina-arresto. Number 4, if refuse entry, the police officer may break into any residence, office, building, and other structure where the person to be arrested is in or is reasonably believed to be in after announcing his purpose. Diba? Like for example, merong pag-aarang sa bahay o sa opisina man. Kung tatanggihan yung pagpasok mo, pwede ka pong pumasok doon sa kahit na anong tahanan o opisina pagkatapos mong ipaalam yung layunin mo at hindi ka pa pwedeng pigilan. Bakit? Meron ka pong warrant of arrest. And then yung warrant mo, pwede mo ipakita pagkatapos at hindi po siya kailangan hawak agad. Kaya nga sabi dito, need not have a copy of the warrant. Ibig sabihin, like for example, inaaresto mo yung individual. And then sinasabi niya, akin na muna, ipakita mo muna sa akin yung warrant of arrest bago ko sumama. So hindi po pwedeng i-demand yun ng taong inaaresto mo. Bakit? According dito sa Rule 113, the procedures po ng serving of warrant of arrest, the police officer need not have a copy of the warrant. Hindi kailangan na hawak mo agad yun. Kaya kita mo sa kanya, na-arresto mo siya, sumama siya, pakita mo sa kanya later on doon sa may presinto. That's the procedure. Next, secure the person to be arrested and use handcuffs. Of course, siguro din ang kaligtasan mo, gamitin mo yung handcuffs. Kung wala kang handcuffs, so the cable tie. Gano'n namang hirap ng pulis nun, cable tie yung gamit, yung makabili ng sariling handcuffs. Number 7, conduct thorough search for weapons and other illegal materials. Of course, hanapin mo kung meron siyang kontrabando, armas sa katawan, and inform the person to be arrested of his rights. Then under the Miranda warning and anti-torture warning. Malinaw sa kanya nabanggitin mo yung kanyang karapatan. No unnecessary force, sinulit lang. So huwag kang gagamit ng labis na puwersa, kailangan necessary. Depending on the circumstances yun, ha. Pagka sinuntok ka na, suntokin mo na din. Mayroong ganun lang yun. Kailangan it must be equal. Confiscated evidence shall be properly documented with the chain of custody of evidence. Paano to? So, kailangan, lahat po ng evidence, it must be properly marked, tagged, diba, the date and time, sino yung humawak. Kailangan po lahat yan ay nakalag. Bakit? Kasi po, yung mga evidence na yan, if it is mishandled, yan po ay magiging inadmissible. Yan po ay magiging under na ng fruit of the poisonous tree. Hindi na po yan pwedeng gamitin laban sa individual. Kasi nga po, yan po ay papasok sa illegal search. Next, bring the arrested person to the police station or documentation. Of course, yun na siya kuha na ng mugshot, fingerprints, and all. Number 12, make a return of warrant. Balik daw yung warrant, ipaalam mo sa korte, o naisagawa na po yung arrest, your honor. Then number 13, deliver the arrested person to jail. Bakit? Meron tayong 12-18-36, huwag niyong kakalimutan na kapag hindi mo yan na-deliver sa tama o sa judicial authority within those period, ikaw po ay merong violation of the Rule 125. Delay of the delivery of the arrested person with the proper judicial authority. And kung meron naman ng commitment order, diretso mo na dun sa jail or prison. Search and seizure. So sabi dito, search warrant shall be issued only upon probable cause. Unang requisite. Pangalawa, determined, yung probable cause, determined personally, the incident must be determined personally by the judge. And then, pangatlo, kailangan yung complainant and witnesses must be under oath or affirmation. Pang-apat is the particularity of the place of the search and the things to be seized. So, yun po yung mga requisites. So, tingnan natin. Ngayon, ano ba yung mga objects? Una, properties which are the subject of the offense. Pag sinabing properties, kung ano man yung paksa doon sa krimen, bagay na directly doon sa nagawa. Kung may kasong robbery yan, ano ba yung kailangan mong hanapin sa kanya? O, di ninakaw na gamit o ninakaw na pera. Ano pa, stolen embezzled proceeds or proofs of the offense. Mga ninakaw o legal na kinita. Like for example, ninakaw yung cellphone. So, yun po yung mga stolen o embezzled na ginamit or proceeds. And, kung naibenta na like for example, o yung pera na pinagbentahan nung ninakaw. Then objects including weapons, equipment, and other items used or intended to be used as a means of committing offense. Ito po yung mga illegal item, like isang baril na ginamit sa pang-hold up, o yung ginamit mong martilyo pagbukas ng pinto, so ang tawag po doon ay weapons or equipment. Next, punta tayo sa objects that are illegal per se. Pag sinabing illegal per se, ito po ay sabi dito, even if not particularly described in the search warrant, pwede mo siyang kunin. Saan papasok na doctrine? Plain view doctrine. Kahit hindi nakasaad doon sa warrant, pwede mong kunin yung bagay na illegal sa sarili nitong katangian in its nature. If it is illegal in nature, walang problema. Kuhanin mo. Kung nakita ng pulis yung shabu sa mesa habang nag-i-inspection ng bahay, so pwede po niya kumpiskahin yun kahit hindi nakasaad yun sa warrant. Okay, basta tandaan ang mga requisites. Yung pagpasok mo doon sa bahay, legal. Una, meron kang warrant or consented. Pangalawa, yung discovery mo doon sa bagay na illegal is inadvertent. Pag sinabing inadvertent, hindi mo talaga hinahanap yung bagay na yon, you just stumbled upon it. Pag sinabing stumbled upon it, aksidente mga kaibigan. And illegal nature, ibig sabihin, immediately apparent sa'yo, alam mo na yung bagay na yon ay illegal. May nakita kang mahabang armas doon, o illegal yun, in nature. O pwede mong kuhanin po yun as illegal per se. You cannot, or you don't need a separate warrant for that. Kasi papasok na po yun sa plain view doctrine. Next, validity of search warrant. Kung na-issue na po yung warrant noong November 1, pwede mo ito gamitin hanggang November 10. Pagkatapos po nun, hindi na po siya pwedeng gamitin sa mga sumusunod pa. Pero, pag nagsimula yan ng November 1, pero tapos marami ka pang kailangan na i-accomplish at hindi kaya, so pwede po siyang magpatuloy hanggang November 10. Pero, para po sa pag-rehistrado tapos may papel. Pag-rehistrado at may papel yung baril, ganito yan. Hindi ka bibigyan ng tawag dito, ng FEO, ng Firearms and Explosive Office, ng PNP, ng papel, at hindi mo mai-rehistro yun sa kanila kung wala ka namang karapatan na magkaroon ng ganung baril. Kasi sinabi nating illegal firearms, usually, mahaba talaga yun. Mga high caliber firearms na usually, ang pwede lang na mag-acquire nun is mga sundalo, mga kapulisan. Yan. Pero kapag meron kang baril na yon, kasi alam na ng pulis yun eh, na those are illegal firearms. Pero kapag meron ka naman necessary equipment na may papakita na talagang pinayagan ka, walang magiging problema po doon. Alright, tandaan natin, 10 days from the date of issuance, so that is the search warrant. Pero pagka 10 days from the receipt, that is the warrant of arrest. Again, pag hindi ma-accomplish, kailangan mo bumalik doon sa judge. Tama ba? And you will going to ask for an extension. So, yun lang naman ang hiniling ng judge. Kailangan mo siyang i-inform bago matapos yung 10-day validity. Next. If the object or purpose of the search warrant cannot be accomplished within a 10-day, yun ay binabanggit ko, you must file for an extension. Time of search. Kung kanina, any time of the day, of the week, and any time of the day or night, sa rest, ito naman, daytime only. Unless it is specified doon sa warrant natin. Okay? Paano ba yung sinasabi na exemption? Kung yung police mapoprove doon sa judge by a sworn affidavit na yung property to be seized might be moved, destroyed, or is only present at night, so pwede pong mag-conduct ng search sa gabi. Next, about the search and seizures without search warrant. Medyo mabilis na lang tayo dito. May naaresto ka. Pwede mo siyang i-search para sa armas o anumang bagay na pwedeng gamitin sa krimen. Kahit wala kang search warrant. Okay? Pwede mo rin i-search yung paligid nga kung like for example, kung controlled siya yung paligid. So, naaresto yung suspect, pwede mo i-check yung bag niya o yung surroundings or malapit na mga bagay sa kanya. Next, search of moving vehicles. Ito usually, kung may dahilan yung police na maniwala na may krimen o ebidensya sa sasakyan mo, so pwede ka na lang i-search. Diba? Kung, lalo na kung suspected yung driver ay drug transport or drug courier, so pwede pong i-check yung sasakyan kahit wala pang warrant. Pero, kailangan maunawaan dito, unang-una, it must be searched. Sana kung checkpoint ito, in plain view once again. Lane eyesight. Okay, kung checkpoint po yan ha. Pero ibang usapan na kung talagang yung sasakyan na yon is naka-alarma at identified at alam na mismo na yun yung karakteristik ng sasakyan, ibang usapan na po yun. Pwede na pong buksan ng atin pong mga pulis na nilalaman po. Next, seizure of evidence in plain view. Pinakita po natin ito kanina. Skip na po natin. When there is waiver of the right or there is consented search. Para pag sinabing waiver of right, pag sinabing waiver of rights, so kailangan si person, alam niya na meron siyang karapatan. Of course, property niya yun. Pangalawa, alam niya, naunawaan niya na meron siyang, or he or she can refuse. Pwede siyang mag-say no. Diba? If they think they must comply because, for example, hindi niya alam na pwede pala siyang tumanggi. Na-intimidate, kaya umuo. Pag binanggit niya yun doon sa korte at hindi niya pala unaan, illegal na pagpasok doon sa bahay at yung evidence na nakuha mo will be inadmissible. Kasi nga, di naman naunawaan nung individual na meron pa siyang karapatan na humindi. At ano pa, intention. Kailangan na consent must be clear and unequivocal. Hindi dapat tinakot, hindi mo dapat niloko, aware siya. Diba? Pwede mo itanong, Sir and ma'am, pwede ko bang i-search po yung bag ninyo? Pero pwede po kayong tumanggi. Pero pag tinabi na yes, pwede niyo po search, okay lang po, that is consented search. Ma'am and sir, pwede po ba kami pumasok sa iyong bahay? Meron lang po kami sa search, pero meron po kayong karapatan na tumanggi. Kapag sinabing no, doon sila pwedeng pilitin. Next. Searches under stop and free school. The police officer has the right to stop the citizen on the street, interrogate him, and pat him for weapons whenever he observes unusual conduct. Please take note, unusual conduct. Pinento mo. Kasi meron ka nakita ng unusual conduct eh. Pag sinabi ng unusual conduct, ikaw as a police, naniniwala ka na possible may mangyaring criminal activity. That is unusual. Pinay-stop mo, yung frisk naman, yung officer na-observe niya, na further convinced na yung person ay armado. Ngayon, kapag pinahinto mo, nakita mo, hindi naman siya armado, interrogate mo lang, subject for questioning, go na. Pero yung frisk, iba. Na-observe mo na yung individual ay pwedeng armado, armed and dangerous. Pwede ka mag-perform ng pat-down of the outer clothing only. Pag sinabing outer clothing only, hindi mo pwedeng ipasok yung kamay mo sa loob ng damit, sa loob ng pantalon, sa loob ng salawal, kung saan mang loob yan. Outer clothing only. Just pat-down. Right, next. So, reasonable suspicion or hunch. So, pag sinabi nating reasonable suspicion, hindi ka pa pwedeng magpahinto ng tao dahil mukha lang siyang kriminal. So, magkaiba po yun ha. Nakita mo, mukhang kriminal, pinahinto mo, magkaiba po yun. Hindi po yung reasonable suspicion. Okay? Like for example, may nakita kang tao, nakaharap dun sa jewelry store. Diba? At paulit-ulit na hinahawakan yung relo doon, like for example. Parang naglilinga-linga siya. That is unusual conduct. Pero nakita mo, nagwi-window shopping lang naman, mukhang kriminal, ay iba po usapan. Next, emergency and exigent circumstances. Ano ba yung mga emergency or exigent circumstances? So, pwede po nitong i-bypass yung warrant kung may emergency or krimen na nangyari agad at sarado yung korte. Like for example, may sunog at may hostage dun sa loob. Pwede pwedeng pasukin agad ng pulis para hanapin yung ebidensya o armas. Ligtas yung hostage dun sa loob. So, ano pa? Tumatakbo, nagkakahulihan. Pumasok dun sa isang lugar yung individual. Pwede ka po, may karapatan ka pong pumasok doon at mag-search ng bahay at hanapin mo yung tao na yun kung may arrestuit ka. Next, tip information. Para pag sinabing tip information, alam naman natin, mga pulis nagkakatak po ng intelligence-led policing. Diba, hindi naman natin lagi nakikita yung krimen sa mata lang natin. Usually, we are relying on informants or sa tips. Ngayon, kung yung tips nakita mo, kailangan daw yung tip must be reliable and specific. And kailangan makapag-provide ng probable cause. At kapag ka na-determine yun, reliable, specific, and with probable cause, hindi ka na po nangangailangan ng warrant of arrest, search warrant. Okay? However, si korte, kailangan maging very strict dito. O hindi pa pwede na anonymous yung text message, hindi pa pwede yun. Hindi po enough yun. Pero makita mo, listahan ng informant mo, may who, what, where, when, why, and how, very detailed. So that can be reliable. Paano mo masabing reliable? Reliable, kasi galing yun sa informant mo, mga trustees mo. Next, tayo dito, planning as management function. Maging mabilis kasi banggit na natin to kanina sa dalawang subject. Management, there is the use of people and other resources. Once again, so pag sinabi nating management, diba, parang napakasimple, magamit ka ng individual, pero it must be effective and efficient without wasting any resources. We have categories of plans. So ano ba muna yung plano? It is made out of in advance. Ibig sabihin ito ay mga detailed procedures na nakapaloob doon or aim or goal ng isang organization before, diba, to execute yung action. Then types of plan. So we have it according to time, use, scope, or threat. So tayo sa time. Sabi dito, time is most critical and most elusive and most often abused. So dito, napakalaga ng timing, whether you are planning, ano ba, for the future or present time. Kung yan naman ay, panawala. Panawala yung according to time ko. So tatlo yun eh. So according to time, so we have the short, yun ang may cover niya is 1, okay, or 1 day to 1 year. Then we have the intermediate, that is 1 to 5 years. And then kung mag-exceed ng long range, that is the 5 years and above. So according naman sa use, we have two. Sinabi natin single use. So ito po ay for single use. Sabihin lang, it is for non-repetitive, for unique situations. So kapag ka natapos na yung event, diba? And so hindi na pa pwedeng gamitin po yung plano na yun. And then when we say standing plans, actually ito na po yung mga for repetitive situations. So yun po ay design. For example, exact same task lang naman din yung gagawin and 1,000 times per year mo gagawin yun. Hindi na po kailangan na gumawa pa ng panibagong plan. Actually, yun po yung ginagamit natin during patrol, kapag nag-aaresto ka, conducting search, mga SOPs natin. Next, according to scope, we have the strategic. Ano ang sakop ng scope? Diba, pang matagalang plano po yan para maabot yung overall objectives of the organization. Halimbawa, yung kumpanya, so tinignan na makapag-target ng in 5 years. So 5 years and above. So yun po ay strategic planning. And at the same time, sa strategic planning, you are thinking of the bigger picture. Diba, hindi lang siya basta paano ka mag-aresto ng suspect bukas. Usually tinitingnan doon, paano ba ipoposition yung entire organization with the next 5 years or with the next 3 to 5 years. Next, tactical planning. So, ang ina-emphasize dito is how this will be accomplished sa tactical. So, paano ba allocation of the budget, allocation of the personnel. So, yun po ang tactical planning. And also, ito po ay short term ang focus niya. Usually, kapag tactical plan, lang dito, yung may mga certain kang campaign, drug campaign, anti-drug campaign, so something like that. And operational, ito po ay day-to-day, diba? Kung yung strategy is where the organization will go, and then tactically how, and operational naman is who. Okay, and the standard. Ibig sabihin, sino yung mga individual that is appropriate doon sa specific task. And papaano gagawin, ano ba yung mga rules of engagement and protocols na kailangan gawin ng individual na yun. So yun po ang operational. And at the same time, it is a highly detailed operation. Types of plan, reactive. So paano pag sinabing reactive, may nangyaring krimen, nag-responde ka. That is reactive. So sabi nga dito, has no plan. Diba? You are just react or respond based on the crime arise or situations arise. Pag sinabi naman natin proactive, eto, you are creating plan before that situation or that commotion happens. Like for example, nagpatupad ka ng traffic control plan bago yung araw ng rally. So that is proactive plans. Bakit? In-anticipate mo na yung problem, nagpatupad ka na ng plano bago pa mangyari. Kung sa firefighting, kung sa PFP, reactive planning is firefighting, sa proactive planning is fire prevention. So, ano lang siya. Sa police is responding to a crime, pero pagka proactive, that is crime prevention. That is proactive. Missionary, sinabi natin missionary, sabi nga dito sa nakagawin, what it could do in the future. Diba? The potential of the organization. You are looking what could we become. Kung hindi lang siya basta solving about crime today, pero tinitingnan natin paano nga yung police force ay makapagpapabago ng future or makakapagbawas ng kriminalidad with the next many years. That is vision. And at the same time, it serve as the guide of the organization in implementation and operational procedures. Next, strategic. As I said earlier, it is long range and the overall goals of the organization are involved here. So, usually, again, ito po ay pangmatagalan. And actually, yung makikita natin, diba, to be the most, to be modernized in the year 2030, 2035, 2038, so that is strategic plan. And operational, to meet the specific task, sabi ko nga sa inyo, highly detailed. May strategy ka pero wala kang tactics, hindi mo rin makukuha yun. So, ang operational, ganun din. So, meron kang plano, at ang operational plan, that is how you will achieve or how you will do specific operations or missions. So, that is the operational. Next, strategic plan technologies. We have two, SWOT and the vision, mission, and goals. Sa SWOT, we have the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. When we say strengths, yun ay kalakasan, advantages. Those are the things that can help the organization to operate, but to accomplish its missions. Weaknesses naman, so those are hindrances. Those are constraints. But those are the things that can make the progress of the organization slow. That is the weaknesses. And opportunities, yun naman ay mga, please take note, those are external factors, okay, that could be tapped. Paano yun? Like for example, in the conduct of investigation of the police, opportunities, yung alin, meron kang CCTV cameras doon sa may isang lugar, nakatapat sa may pinangyarihan ng krimen. That is opportunities. Ano pa? With the collaboration of other law enforcement agencies, those are opportunities. Bakit? Those are the things that can be tapped in order for the unit to move forward or have a progress. And threats, ito naman ay, sabi ito, pose serious challenges to the organization kasi ito po yung mga internal, diba? And usually, those who are involved in the organization itself, yun po yung tinitignan as a challenges. Next, strategic plan technologies, vision, mission, and goals. So dito po sa vision, mission, and goals, mission, ang purpose ng organization, the layunin, diba, dahilan why the organization exists. A vision, that is a dream or aspiration. Diba? Ano ba yung kailangan maabot ng isang organization? And the goals is the step-by-step procedure in order na makuha yung target or the results in a certain period of time. Police planning, nabanggit na natin kanina, the police plan. So involved po dito yung ating mga police leaders. They are combining logistics, intelligence, personnel. Ang single lang naman lang ina-address is the public safety, public order. Then we have the kinds of police plans, 5, policy and procedural plan, tactical plan, operational, extra office and management. Ulit-ulit na lang tayo sa tactical and operational. Pero ano ba ang policy and procedural? Ang policy and procedural, so meron kang policy, ang policy, those are the things that, kumbaga, that guides, or the rules that guides how the members of the organization think. That is the what and why. Those are the policies. And procedures, those are the how, the step-by-step instruction kung paano mo gagawin yung what and why doon sa may policies. Next, the tactical plan. Once again, it is short-term. So meron kang specific task in a specific location, and then kailangan ng specific individual. Ang tawag po dyan ay tactical plan. So like for example, merong robbery doon sa specific building. So, saan ka ba maglalagay ng sniper? Di ba? Saan ka ba maglalagay ng roadblock? So, tawag po doon ay tactical plan. Specific missions, meron pong specific situations, and at a known locations. Operational plan, binanggit natin. It is highly detailed. Actually, po yung day-to-day na ginagawa ng atin pong sabi nga patrol, detective, and juvenile control divisions. Or the tip, the traffic, the investigation, or the patrol procedures na ginagawa ng mga kapulisan. So that is the operational plan. Next, extra office plan. So from the word extra office, ito po ay collaboration of the police department sa community. So usually, meron tayong tinatawag na barangay peacekeeping action team. And nandyan din yung kabataan kontra droga. Usually, those are plans that is established or implemented by in connection or with the cooperation ng community natin. Next, management. So management plan, again, paano ba maiaayos yung whole organization smoothly na nagagawa yung trabaho with effectiveness and efficiency. Then guides to good plan, we have the SMART method. Yung plano daw must be specific, simple, sensible, and significant. Ang tinutukoy lang natin dito, kailangan with with clarity rather, and it must be simple. Naunawaan ng makakabasa. That is specific. Measurable, from the word measurable, so it can be counted. Diba? Kasi paano natin masasabi na meaningful yan if hindi mo nakikita yung magiging progress mo. At least you can track down your progress if it is measurable. And at the same time, kung hindi mo na-attain yung goals mo, at least you can improve response time to time. So base doon sa kailangan mo i-achieve. Attainable, agreed or achievable. So dito naman, kailangan daw you are realistic. You need to balance your ambition with reality. For example, ang gusto mo, patrol ka 24/7. Ang problema, the reality is, kulang ng sasakyan, kulang yung tao. Hindi ka attainable. So, kailangan balance. Kulang yung tao, kaya mo ba siyang hatiin per shift? Okay ba yung mga gamit ang gagamitin? How about yung sasakyan? So, pwede po siya. So, that is attainable. And relevant, so dapat meron daw kabuluhan, reasonable. And at the same time, you need to ensure na yung relevancy ng gagawin mo is in accordance with the mission itself. What is your mission? Ba? To enforce the law, prevent and control crimes. So, kailangan yung gagawin mo is in accordance with that. So, kaya nga sabi dyan, that matters to you or what matters to organization. And the time bound, of course, ito po yung sineset natin, the deadline. So, kailangan pong matapos siya. Diba? Kailangan siya maging time limited or time sensitive. Bakit? Kasi kung wala kang time frame, hindi mo po ma-measure yung cost or your success. Like for example, sinabi mo, kailangan bawasan ng 10% yung crime rate, pero anong nilagay mo, 50 years bago mo matapos. Na hindi po success yun, failure yun, napakatagal mo naman dapat matapos. Kung nilagay mo doon, reduce crime by 10% someday. Hindi po time bound. Pero pag sinabi mo, reduce crime by 10%, di ba, with the succeeding 2 months, so yun po ay may time bound. And meron kang deadline. And pupunta na po tayo sa last topic. Siyempre, magpupusuan na yan. Siyempre, last topic na. The crime mapping. Okay, so ang crime mapping is a term used in policing to refer to the process of conducting spatial analysis with crime analysis. So, ito po yung proseso, again, na ginagamit ang alin? Mapa o sa system natin o sa computer natin, geographic information system. Bakit? To analyze or to identify the crime hotspots. Diba? So, ginagamit ito ng police, once again, to identify the crime hotspots. Or at least with that, makapag-create ka ng plans on how we're going to act and operate with that certain or specific location. Kasi alam naman natin na yung krimen, hindi naman sometimes na nag-happen randomly. Usually, it follows patterns. Kaya ngayon, kung meron kang spatial analysis, tinitignan mo where, kung saan, at why, doon sa location na yun nangyari yung krimen, pwede kang magkaroon ng conclusion and makatulong ka pa in solving doon sa mga nasa, kumbaga, underlying factors kung bakit nakapag-contribute ng kriminalidad. And what is crime mapping? Oh, I mean, yes pala, the crime mapping, again, ginagamit po siya o gumagamit po siya na geographic information system. So, geographic information system, yan po ay computer system that is capable na mag-store, magpakita ng data, relating po yan sa, hindi lang basta mapa, kundi crime problems, specifically with a certain part or certain locations. So, pwede pong makita dyan per streets, diba? Pwede mo rin makita dyan kung per city, yung number or dami nung nangyari pong krimen. Yan. So, sabi nga dito, so pwede mo makita yung roads, your building, your lakes, the mountains, and even the information, yung krimen, number ng naaresto sa lugar, or any traffic accident data. So, pwede po natin makita yan sa geographic information system natin. So ngayon punta tayo sa different features ng GIS. We have the point features. Simple as that. Tuldok. Kung ano yung makikita mong tuldok doon, yung bilog, doon sa GIS, that is the point features. At ano ba yung pinaka pwedeng i-represent ng tuldok? Simple as this. Pwede mong i-point yung mismong krimen. Diba? Pwede mong i-point yung kung saan mo na-aresto yung individual. So basta as long as point, so that is point features. Next, line features. From the word line, so that is set of lines. May makita mong linya sa mapa. Pwedeng ilog, pwedeng kalsada, pwedeng linya ng kuryente, pwedeng ruta ng bus. So at least makikita mo doon kung ano yung, sir, pwede mo mahingi yung maps na nakapresent. Yes, kung may papasa naman natin tong PPT, nandun naman din yun sa may papasa natin. So ano yung kinalaman ng location ng lugar? So pwede po yan. Identify na yun ay sabana, yung isang line na yun. So pwede siya makakontribute in criminality because of the arc alley. So walang masyadong dumadaan and lack of police visibility sa lugar. And polygon, ito naman ang nire-representa, pwedeng isang lugar, pwedeng isang city, pwedeng isang barangay, pwedeng isang compound, diba? Pwede rin isang continent. Pwede po siya may pakita doon. The whole map of the Philippines will serve as, it is shown in the form of polygon. Sabi nga dyan, tatandaan nyo lang, it is a multi-sided figure with a closed set of lines. And the image, ito, real time, kung nagawa nyo ng maghanap ng bahay ninyo sa Google Maps, yun lang din po siya with the satellite imagery. At least dito, pwede mo talaga ma-analyze as a crime analyst kung ano talaga yung pinaka-physical na itsura ng lugar. Kung bakit siya nakakapag-contribute sa krimen. Diba? At least, real-time po siyang makikita. Then we have types of crime mapping, point and symbol maps. So, na ginagamit sa single symbol maps and graduated symbol maps. Then sa area and density maps, gumagamit tayo ng choropleth, density maps and isoline. Isa-isayin natin. Pin maps from the word pin. So, magamit po ng tuldok, gumagamit ng pin. At ang ano ang ginagawa? To identify the exact location. Okay, please take note to exact location of the crime. Pag sinabi namang single symbol, ito naman, hindi naman siya specific location of the crime. Okay, pero ang pwede mong ilagay dito sa single symbol, pwedeng aksidente naman. So other symbol, like for example, aksidente, pwera sa pin yan, pwera sa pin, pwedeng ibang symbol, pwedeng pa square, pwedeng pa star, as long as it is single symbol, pwede mo na siyang i-represent. Kasi sa pin maps, ito po kasi color graded usually it corresponds what type of crime yung naka-plot. Pero sa single symbol, any symbol po yan. Hindi po yan dot, hindi po yan pin. And graduated symbol, makita natin symbols of varying sizes. It depends on the size. Kung mas malaki, mas maraming krimen. Diba? Kung mas malaki yung bilog sa lugar, sabihin mas madalas yung kriminalidad doon sa location. Pero mas maliit, gano'n yan, mas mainte or mababa yung kriminalidad. Next, regarding on the area and density maps, pagka-choropleth to, shaded or color. Depende naman to sa color. Kung yung pin kanina, depende din sa color. Ganito, gano'n din naman. Pero, shaded siya. Kinulayan. And at the same time, depende rin po yan sa gaano kadilim or gaano kaliwanag yung ulay. Kung binibigyan ka ng kulay na mas maitim, ibig sabihin, mas mataas yung crime rate sa location na yun. Pero kung mas maliwanag o maliwalas, syempre, yung concentration ng krimen doon mababa. And density, so ito ay concentration. So it is like a heat map. Usually, parang, alam niyo ba yung temperature? Pagka blue, walang ano doon. Ano ka, kumbaga, safe. Patay ka na pagka blue. Pero pagka nasa gitna, buhay ka nun, alive. Pero pagka mataas, meron kang sakit. Parang ganito lang din po dito. Pagka blue, zero. O meron silang ano dyan, dito na mabasa. Yung pinaka sako. Pero pagka pula, yun na po ay pinaka maraming kriminal nangyayari. Kumbaga hotspots nga po ang tinuturing. Next, isolin. So ito ay gumagamit daw po ng contour. Alam mo po ba yung parang sabi nga dito sa weather map. So contour siya in a sense na sa labas kapag ka green, wala. Pero habang pumupula doon sa loob, nag-iba yung kulay, mas concentrated or mas frequent yung crime doon sa location na yun. So that is the isolin. Once again, contour lines ang ginagamit with this, parang sa weather map natin. And also, once again, ang crime mapping po or the crime map analysis, GIS, ginagamit po yan in order to predict yung atin pong mga krimen kung saan possible na mangyari pa. Ma-prevent, ma-address in accordance with the specific location na ipapakita doon sa mismong system natin. So that's all for our crash course. Natuto po ba? Nakuha naman natin. So I hope